Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. It's Jerry Miller. It's great to be with you on a Tuesday. Fantastic program lined up for you. Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries in the spotlight, baby, on the I Love CVille show. These guys doing some big-time things in the Prospect neighborhood. Not just the Prospect neighborhood, but I think Charlottesville City and Central Virginia in totality. I've been hearing about this organization on social, been hearing about it at weddings in person, just hearing it about guests on the program like Michael Guthrie, and I had to go to the source. So we're going to welcome the executive director. Nathan's going to join us here shortly. Cooper, the middle school tutoring coordinator, is going to join us very shortly as well. We love to celebrate folks that are doing positive things in our community. That's what I Love CVille is all about, and Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries undoubtedly is doing that. Before we get to the fellas, let's thank some of the fantastic people that make this program possible. First, the fine folks at Greenberry's Coffee. For 28 years, a husband and wife have used sweat equity, the willingness to work hard, and some vision, and they've built a global brand. It's Greenberry's Coffee Shop, locations in Japan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, soon to open in Portland, Washington, D.C., and McLean. And ladies and gentlemen, it started here in Charlottesville, and you know what? I love it. That's the kind of story that makes me happy, because entrepreneurial and positive stories are what we celebrate at I Love CVille. I also want to give some big-time props to the good doctor, Scott Wagner, of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. He is improving the quality of life of people across Charlottesville and Central Virginia. Scott Wagner, who's got your back? Dr. Scott Wagner does at Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you like and share the stream. The only request we have of you when we put this daily product on Monday through Friday at 12:30 on the I Love CVille network. Harris Tolber is our director. Harris, I think on that note, we go to the studio cam and we welcome the fellas to the show. And you know what? We're going to start with Nathan, who is the gentleman that's looking very dapper. Today. Very fresh. So is Cooper. He's looking super fresh as well. We'll start with you, sir. And before we get to Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries, I'd like to get to know you, the person. Who is Nathan the man? Who is Nathan his passions, his interests, his hobbies? What does he do when he's not working? What's he love about Charlottesville? The show is yours, sir.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, again, my name is Nathan Walton. Thanks for having me. Thanks so much for this opportunity to just chat, get to know one another, and share about what we do and who we are. Kind of long story short, I'm the executive director of Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries. I also serve in the community as community life pastor at Charlottesville Vineyard Church. I'm also a freshly minted PhD, so I've actually been an academic for a while, and now I've been shifting into more directly into the nonprofit world. And so a lot of my passions include theology, so my PhD is in religion, and I'm also really interested in the intersection between theology and ideas, but also community development work and what it means for kind of these concepts that we talk about to actually impact concrete communities. And so in the parish or through nonprofit work, these are some of the avenues that I've been kind of exploring to engage in that. And so,
I love it. I love it. Karen Sellers says, "What's up?"
Karen.
Yeah, she's giving you some props right now.
Fantastic. I love Karen. She's great.
Put a comment, guys, in any of the 7 channels that you're watching this show on, and I'll relay the comment to the fellas. You, before we get to Cooper, one follow-up on that. You got me thinking here. Very much a Renaissance man you are, huh? PhD, big idea thinker, love working with the youth. Love studying from a religious standpoint. I mean, you got a well-rounded skill set. What was the inspiration behind all this?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like a lot of times when people are thinking about what they should do with their lives or, what they should do next, people get confused about, okay, how do I make that decision? And for me, one of the things that always helped me is to ask the question, like, what is already going on, right? Like, how are things in my life already kind of moving and shifting? And how do I kind of press more deeply into that? And so, I moved here to pursue an undergrad in religious studies at UVA years ago. And I remember religious studies was the only thing I really thought I could do, the only thing I was interested in. And so I kind of just stuck with that. I'm a creature of habit, and it's worked out really well. And out of that came some other passions that relate to like just seeing people's lives change for the better. And so through nonprofit work and things like that, it's been a great avenue for that type of work. So.
I love it. I love it. Sizzle reel both answers. Start with my first question all the way through that, Harris. I was also a religious studies major at UVA, but I, unfortunately, unlike you, ended up getting distracted by beautiful women and keg parties. Okay, so you were much more focused than I was. Let's welcome Cooper Good to the set. This gentleman, the middle school tutoring coordinator.
Yes, sir.
At Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries. Also a proud Ohio State Buckeye. The show is yours, sir. The question I have for you, who is Cooper the man? What are his passions, his interests, his hobbies? What does Cooper love about Charlottesville, Virginia?
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Jerry. And yeah, very proud Ohio State Buckeye. From Ohio, born and raised there my whole life. Went to Ohio State to study education, have always found this passion and this love for working with kids and just seeing how to build their character in ways to help them grow in confidence and just allow for them to believe in themselves, whether that's in their academics or emotionally or socially, just so they can be themselves and be confident in who they are. And with that, I graduated from Ohio State and moved down to Charlottesville. So this is my first year here in Charlottesville. What brought me here was I had a friend who went to UVA, still here, talked about the community. And for me, I'm a people person. I need to be around people, extrovert. And the community of Charlottesville is what brought me here. And the community of Charlottesville is what's making me stay. I've absolutely loved. I feel like it's a bigger town that still feels like a very small town. People know each other. People care about each other. And that's something that I really loved. And then as I started with Abundant Life, I get to see smaller and smaller sectors of Charlottesville, in particular the Prospect neighborhood, and how there's this amazing ministry that we have working with the families, but also getting to watch the families interact with each other. That just continues that community aspect that I've just felt and loved and have grown in passion for, that I feel like Charlottesville is really broad and strong.
Cooper Good's bringing the fire,
That's
baby.
Right.
Look at that. You got to be proud of this dude. That was so good. Devin up, dog.
Awesome.
Sizzle reel that, Harris Tolber. Cooper, Charlottesville, you touched on so much. You touched on the macro aspect of Charlottesville, but then you tied it to the micro aspect of Charlottesville, which I love. You're new to the city. So I love to ask this question to folks who are new to the city, what was your first impressions? At first, a lot of folks, and I'll cut to the chase, my wife was one of them. We've had guests on the show that often say this. Initially, they thought they were, a little standoffish to Charlottesville because everybody knows everybody, and it can kind of be from time to time a little cliquish. I don't know if you felt that. Did it get its hooks? Did she get her hooks in you right away? Talk to me about that.
So yeah, I heard a lot about Charlottesville coming in before, as it's been a community in the news. Plus, just that exact point is a lot of people feel standoffish, and they kind of told me, like, hey, like, just so you know, like, this is how people are in Charlottesville. They work really hard, they care about money, and then that's about it. So I had this kind of negative thought from other people, and then I got here, and it was the complete opposite, actually. I was able to join an awesome church in Trinity Church doing one of their programs, their fellows program, and with that community kind of wrapped itself around me immediately, and I didn't feel anyone standoffish. Everyone was welcoming me with open arms, it seemed, from that community. And then as that brought into Abundant Life and more areas of Charlottesville, I really just felt welcomed immediately, which was kind of wild because it wasn't what I was expecting.
I love it. I truly love Charlottesville as well. We've made the passion for this beautiful city our profession, and when you make your passion your profession, you often don't feel like you work a day in your life. I would bet this gentleman right here, who's the executive director of Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries, Nathan Walton, you probably feel your passion is your profession. As soon as you walked in, and folks that embody these qualities, I feel like I embody these qualities, you recognize them in other folks that also have this zest for life. You have the zest. I see it radiating off you. Put in perspective Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries for us.
Yeah, so Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries has been around in Charlottesville for almost 23 years, and it began as a partnership between members of Trinity Presbyterian Church and also members of the Prospect neighborhood and broader CVille. And so a lot of kind of birthed this ministry was people asking that question of what does it mean for us to really improve our community? What does it mean for us to learn how to serve well, to walk alongside families well? And so really the foundation was a foundation of relationships and prayer, and just trying to ask that collective question of what role can we play in continuing to serve well in our community. And so to give you a nutshell of what Abundant Life Ministries is, Abundant Life exists to demonstrate God's love through holistic community development in the Prospect neighborhood. And so one thing you might notice about that is that we are neighborhood focused, right? So we focus on a specific neighborhood pretty close to Cherry Avenue near the hospital. And it's a vibrant neighborhood, a neighborhood with just a group of very good committed families, about 400 families or so.
That's awesome.
And so what that looks like for us on day-to-day is we have tutoring programs, for example. We partner with 3 of the city's schools and offer after-school programs for youth there from kindergarten through 8th grade. And then we also have accompanying group mentorship and discipleship programs for basically the same age range. And then at the high school level, we also have one-on-one mentorship. So I actually got connected with Abundant Life years ago as an undergrad, but after moving back into town, I got connected through that high school mentoring program, not realizing that a year later I would be the director. But what that actually is, it's a 5-year commitment from an adult in the neighborhood to walk alongside a freshman in high school, throughout high school, and then a year afterwards into either vocation or into college. And so that's kind of a lot of what we do at the youth level, but we also see ourselves as a family ministry. And so we also have a financial literacy class that's called Dollars and Cents, which is about an 8 to 9 week program. And what we do in that is, it's a way for us to discuss, how to save money well, how to reduce debt, how to set a budget, how to take steps towards purchasing lasting assets. And so that's our main adult program. Because we see ourselves as a family ministry. And so one of the things that's cool about that program is since it began, there have been about 13 folks who've come through it who've been able to purchase their first home with the help of our matching funds.
That's awesome.
And so it's kind of cool to kind of ask that basic question of what does it mean to walk alongside not just youth, but also adults in the neighborhood who are taking great steps. And so that's really, in a nutshell, what we try to do, right? The programs are really means towards an end, and those ends are relational. It's how do we build relationships with folks? How do we learn how to learn from them, but also figure out ways that we can be supportive of them if there are opportunities for that. And so a lot of it's a question of like, how do we help people to take the next step? So that next step might look like a new home. That next step might look like getting into college. And so that's kind of what we shoot for.
You guys are a sounding board of resources, and that sounding board of resources can start at the youth level, it can be at the adult level, but when someone needs perspective that they may or may not have, that they're willing to engage and entertain, you guys have the resources to offer that perspective and help people improve their quality of life and grow as individuals. I utterly love what you guys are doing. Let's give his answer a sizzle reel. We're going to go to you very soon here, Cooper, with the March Madness event that we have coming around the corner. Before we do, I want to throw it back to you. Why the Prospect neighborhood? I'm curious.
Ooh, that's a fantastic question. So a lot of this was birthed out of members of Trinity kind of thinking through, Trinity Presbyterian Church, thinking through, what does local missions look like, right? Like what communities could we really see ourselves, or themselves, because I wasn't around back then, really engaging in and serving well. And so the way they approach a lot of that was thinking through relationships, right? Like what connections are already existing and how we maximize those. So if you were to whittle a lot of this down, it actually could be reduced to a specific friendship between Amy Sherman, who is a member of Trinity Presbyterian Church, and Lulu Rogers, who is a member of the Prospect community. And so it's actually out of that relationship that, this broader network of folks who are engaged in community development began to coalesce. And so it actually began with that specific friendship, and that blossomed into something that we see today.
Love it, love it. Get in here, Cooper. Let's talk the March Madness event. Let's talk about the aspects you love working with, within the Charlottesville Abundant Life organization. Show is yours, sir. Anywhere you want to go.
Yeah. So Nathan actually said it very well. It's hard to kind of follow up. Him talking about Abundant Life, as he said it great. I love what he said. And the way that I usually try to describe Abundant Life is we walk alongside the life of the families in the Prospect neighborhood. It's not a handout, and because they're giving as much to us as we are to them, and we have so much to learn. And it's been really cool to kind of see those relationships build, especially as I'm new to Abundant Life, to kind of really, it's walking alongside of life hand in hand. And for me personally, that's the middle school tutoring programs. So I work at both Walker and Buford. 7th and 8th graders at Buford are on Mondays, and then 5th and 6th graders at Walker are on Tuesdays. And the way that we have structured our tutoring program is to try to get it to as close to one-on-one tutoring as possible, because we think that there's a huge benefit, and we've seen benefits in this relationship that can grow between a student and a tutor. We try to work on homework after school, and as well as just have the tutor be there for them, just to have conversation and just to be another friend, and to know that there's this person out there that truly does care for them. And we are so thankful and grateful for our tutors as we've kind of seen our kids grow up this year. It puts a smile on my face just thinking about students who, at the beginning of the year, were struggling with their tutor, and then now they're excited. They get there, they have a smile on their face, they're laughing, they're getting their homework done, they're playing, and I feel like I can watch them mature. And it hasn't even been a full year, and that's been really inspiring for me to kind of see that what we're doing is actually having an impact. And the relationships that I've been able to get with these students as well, especially our boys, is then after our tutoring program, I help with our 5-8 boys programming, which is kind of a discipleship group where we play games, have Bible studies, and just kind of live life and community together. And I've gotten to see a lot of that growth between each other, and I feel like they call themselves brothers now, because that's really what they are, the way that they love on each other and care for each other, and kind of have this relationship that is beyond a friendship. So that's what I do at Abundant Life, and I've really loved it. And then actually, as my year progressed through tutoring, I started to get my feet on the ground and understand what I was doing, and I was able to take on more. And I've actually created a new fundraiser for Abundant Life, and I use fundraiser. That's technically what it is. We are trying to raise money, but it's really a community event that's going to be a lot of fun for everyone to be at. And it's a March Madness watch party for the first day of March Madness. So Thursday, March 21st. And I can't think of a better town to have a first day March Madness watch party than Charlottesville, Virginia. Go Hoos. I know how much this community and all these people love their college basketball. So we decided to create this event, and it's going to be held, like I said, on March 21st, and it's at the Commonwealth Reserve right on the downtown mall.
Nice.
And it's going to be from noon to midnight. So every single game for the day, games start around noon, and they're going to end around midnight. We will be streaming them. We're going to have 4 TV setups. You can watch any game throughout the day. There's going to be re-entry, so you can come and go as you please, because we're not expecting you to be there for 12 full hours, even though I will be. But we figured, how many people are going to be sitting at their desk working anyway with their phone out or on their other browser watching the game? So why not take an extended lunch, come down to Commonwealth, have a blast, watch some games with us, and then on top of that, we're going to have some really cool raffles and prizes with it. So there's a couple different ticket levels, and then with those ticket levels, you get a different amount of raffle tickets. And the way that it's working is, instead of it being a regular raffle, we're having a specific individual raffle for each game of the day. So there's 16 games, there's going to be 16 raffles. And what you're going to do, instead of just putting in a raffle, you're going to pick the winner of the game with your raffle ticket. So say UVA is playing, Indiana, and you think UVA is going to win the game, you put your ticket in UVA's bag, and when UVA wins the game, you're going to pick that ticket out of the bag, and we're going to pick a ticket out of the UVA bag, and you'll win a prize from, they're all local businesses, so some restaurants, some shops, gift cards, gift baskets, and just a lot of cool stuff that people from the community of Charlottesville have donated to us. But then at the end of the day, once all the games are completed, is when we have our grand prizes, and those are going to be some big winners for people in Charlottesville. So everyone who's won a raffle, so everyone who's won a game, has their ticket then entered into the grand prize drawing. And we have 4 grand prizes, and they're going to be a Coach Bennett signed UVA basketball.
Nice.
We have a full team signed poster that is going to be framed and ready to take home for you guys. We have 2 tickets to the Louisville game next year, and we also have 2 tickets plus a ball boy experience for 2nd through 8th grade students. So if a parent,
about adults?
Yeah, if a parent wins this, they will get to have 2, either their children or a child and their friend will get to go be on the court before the game, help rebound, and just kind of hang out with the players and the teams. Also then get to sit in great seats courtside, and then the parents or the winners of the tickets will get to go to the game as well for free. So those are 4 awesome grand prizes, and we'd love to share those with you. It's going to be just a really fun-filled day of community, kind of watching the games together. We're going to have food and drinks throughout the day that are all already included in the ticket prices. And yeah, it's just a time that you can have fun, watch basketball, because you're going to be doing it anyway on that day, and spend some time with Abundant Life, help us out, help out a community in need, an awesome neighborhood, and then take home some awesome prizes.
CharlottesvilleAbundantLife.org, guys, for more information. CharlottesvilleAbundantLife.org. Now, let's get a little free-flowing conversation right here. And, Nathan, we're going to throw it to you. We got some people giving you some props right now on the feed. So let's get to the questions, and you can go anywhere you want with the questions. This one, and I hope I'm not messing up his first name, Jamil Clark. He says, I love Charlottesville Abundant Life. I remember the 5-8 club. It keeps a smile on my face still to this day. And he says, I have a few questions. What are we doing about bullying in our school systems and the community as a whole? Also, can we raise a bit more awareness within the community about this in general? Throw it to you there. I like it.
That's
good question.
A fantastic question.
Yeah.
I certainly don't have all the answers to that specific issue, but it's something that we definitely have encountered in our own ministry. And I'm even thinking about a youth I was talking to a little while ago who was dealing with this and kind of asking the question, like, what do I do? And so a lot of that is us, even as Abundant Life, not approaching this thinking that we can solve all of that ourselves, but trying to figure out how do we connect well with other resources that also can, right? So for me, that looked like talking with the student about how to, make sure their parent is engaged, talking to them and getting their parent, or talking with their parent about connecting with the administration as well, which also happened. But then also, this particular student was already connected with a local organization that was providing counseling services. And so I think it was helpful to kind of have this all-hands-on-deck approach with the student to kind of think through what are the good support structures to have in place, but also like pushing the administration to think about accountability, right? And so what was actually helpful was the student went and talked with some school administration, and they were able to step in and really help in that way. And so I think that's part of it. I think there are probably other ways to help in these types of situations as well, but I think it's something that, on one level, the school system has to continue to make that a priority, which I think they're doing. But at the same time, for us on our end, our question is, how do we walk alongside that specific individual and really that family well? And a lot of times, too, because it's such a big issue, I think, in addition to trying to fix or solve a problem like that, I think it's just as important for us to just be a good presence for the students. To know they have someone they can come to, someone they can vent to, and then together we can think creatively about how to address that. And so I can even give you a concrete example from one student I was engaging, and I realized, okay, there's steps that we were able to take where the administration was able to step in and really help to fix the situation. But at the same time, we were like, so what does it mean to be people who forgive? To be people who even, like this student actually ended up committing to praying for that person who had been bullying them. And so like for me, I'm like, that's redemption, right? That's what we want. What we want is not just problems to get fixed, but for people to become better and to learn how to engage those situations as they come up later in life. And so that would be my 2 cents on that. But it's definitely a big issue.
And let's go free flowing, guys. Conversation. Yeah. Anybody can jump in anytime they want here. We'll go quick hitters. I have this question for you, and this is a question that's also coming in via Twitter as we speak. I'm going to try to do anecdotal here. I have a son, obviously still very young, but still has opened up my mind to a lot of things since he's been born. How has social media impacted adolescence, impacted middle school, impacted high school? Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever it may be. Cooper, we'll start with you, and then let's just get the conversation going here. It's almost created this like keeping up with the Joneses effect, where everyone is much able to easier compare and contrast the things they have versus the things they want and the things that they don't have. And I've got to think that's a level of pressure that perhaps was not in existence when we were young. I mean, you grew up in the social media era. He's younger than we are. Mm-hmm. But there was no real social media for us when we were growing up. Thoughts on that? Jump in here.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with social media, especially with our students and just adolescents today, is I think there needs to be an ongoing conversation between parents and adults about social media. And something that I've looked at and looked into is trying to talk to our students about living like a no-filter life. If you think about Instagram or Twitter, you're seeing these pictures of all these people have unbelievable amounts of fun, and then I'm missing out on this, or you see it on Snapchat, or they're giving you glimpses of their life, and they're not going to share the glimpses that aren't fun. They're going to share their best moments and their best memories, and it might be once a week they have fun for an hour a day, and they're posting a picture of that, and our students are looking at that, wow, they live this amazing life, but then trying to talk to them about there's so much more to life than what you put on social media, and trying to live this no filter. That's a filtered version of their life is what they post on social media, and how you have to recognize that in other people, and you have to recognize that in yourself, and who you are when you're living day to day, that you want to show who you are. And if you are using social media, which most of our students do, try to live that no filtered life and understand as you're looking through other people's posts and your own posts, kind of what's really going on in the world, and not necessarily it's this perfect environment that you're living in at all times, because it's just not how it works.
Good answer. Jump in here.
No, I think that's true. I mean, I think one of the things that's helpful about the position that we're in this ministry is we really have an opportunity to help to frame for youth, right, what it means to not allow, social media to lead them to always be comparing themselves to one another or things like that. But we really kind of can reframe the perspective on social media and the fact that it shouldn't have this detrimental effect on us. Sadly, it ends up having that effect, right? And so one of my questions is not even just what does it mean for us to reframe social media and how people engage that, but also the question of how might we use social media, right, in a positive way. So I'm even thinking of, I was talking with a friend a while back who not this year, but in a previous year, she decided that during Lent, right, the season leading up to Easter, she was going to use social media to post pictures of her without any makeup on. It was her saying, hey, like, I'm going to be comfortable with
authentic.
Who I am. And so to me, I'm like, oh, that's a really creative and cool thing to do.
And there's that no filtered lifestyle, just like that.
And but so it's not running away from social media. It's saying, how might it actually be a tool and an asset for us to reframe the conversation? And so I think even with Abundant Life Ministries, we have the opportunity to kind of push people to think creatively about that as well, because it's not going anywhere, right? But what it can be is not just an obstacle, but an opportunity for us.
I love it, and that's what we're trying to do with I Love CVille, is we're trying with this show to leverage Facebook, and this show is being broadcasted across 7 Facebook channels to bring positivity. This show was undoubtedly motivated by August 12th. Okay, I own a lion's share of this building here. And at the same time, I have a young son that I wanted to when he made it to history class, to be able to say, I was here, this is what really happened, this is what I saw. I wanted to be able to share my firsthand perspective to him. So I was out here on August 12th and saw, fellas, the most awful sin and evil that I'd ever seen in my entire life, to the point where months afterwards, it was still impacting me from like a sleeping standpoint, couldn't shake it from my head. I'm not going to call it PTSD, but certainly some level of impact and negativity that it impacted me personally. As a result of that, this show was birthed. And we're leveraging social media for positive good by spotlighting Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries. We have a lot of takes coming in. You're getting some props, and the props that you're getting from Luke Haynes says, great take by Cooper Good. FOMO is a product of social media. So props right there. You're getting some props from Sarah Hill Buczynski. Sarah Hill Buczynski says, and also ministering to the bullies. They need help as much as those who are being bullied. Hurt people are the ones who hurt others. So I think that's a deep take from her.
Oh, yeah.
We're also, Yona Smith is saying it's all about keeping a balance and perspective, especially realizing that there is no filter and what you think you want folks to know about. Use social media as a positive medium rather than a negative, which is what we're doing here. Jump in here, Cooper. Jump in here. Give me some take. Give me some perspective.
Yeah, I just really think that I like that comment about the bully, and I think that they have something going on in their lives, and that's what we've kind of learned working with, or at least I've learned working with some of the youths with Abundant Life, is sometimes they might be misbehaving at school. They're doing something, and they have I can't even comprehend and understand what's going on in their lives because it didn't happen to me, and we have to try to dig deep and find out what's kind of like underneath and what is causing these issues to happen. I don't think any bully is just, or any youth is just a bad kid in general, and I hate when people try to say, oh no, he's just a bad
product
kid.
Of the environment.
And I think a teacher will sometimes teachers will push them off and be like, no, that's just who they are, they're just a bad kid, and I think that is completely false. And I think that finding and spending time, and I think Nathan talks about presence with a bully or someone who's been struggling in school, whether that's socially or academically, just spending time and understanding where they're coming from and why that is happening to them, and from there you can kind of mentor them in different ways to find out why they're bullying. And I don't think that they want to be a bully. No one enjoys being a bully, and enjoys people thinking of them as this mean person. And I think that there's ways by spending time and just being there for them that can help them along the way.
What are some of the challenges that you guys are facing in the Prospect neighborhood, Nathan? Run the gambit, anywhere you want to go.
Oh gosh, there are a lot of challenges that exist. There are also a lot of opportunities, but one thing I would say is in terms of reading levels for some of our youth, right? I think there's an opportunity for growth there, and we're trying to do the best we can to help in that area. There's also issues that aren't even necessarily particular to Prospect, but thinking about affordable housing, right? And folks who are hoping to purchase a first home and trying to figure out how do you do that in the city when there's 2% vacancy rate and the places that are available are too high, right? And so those are some of the major challenges. Some of the other ones have to do with unemployment or underemployment. And so trying to think through, like, what does it look like to help people to be in a position to have access to jobs, and, if they don't have transportation, like, what role can we play in all these things? So those would be some of the ones that would come to mind initially for me. But I feel like there's kind of two sides of this, right? Like, on one level, there is kind of some of the structural challenges, but then I think there are also, like, broader culture challenges.
What do you mean structural challenges?
So let's say in terms of, educational inequity, right? So like a structural challenge, or access to healthcare, right? Like those types of things.
Okay.
But I also feel like there's another side of this, which is the cultural challenge of, particularly if you're a person of color in Charlottesville, right? There's just different cultural dynamics at play that can make it hard to really thrive in this community. And so I think for us, like, we don't just want to be a ministry that helps to, provide or help to foster equity on the structural level, but we also want to foster good relationships across demographic lines, right? Even going back to your point about August 12th, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of cultural tension here in Charlottesville. And so for us, we want to ask ourselves that question: what role can we play, right? Like on a small level, that might look like, creating contexts and situations in which people from different backgrounds are able to interact healthily. That might look like us being able to work alongside churches to help continue to work with them to think about how do they pursue and foster reconciliation in our city, right? That could look like any number of things, but I feel like it's both those things, right? Because if everybody even has equal access to everything, but they're actually not friends and not in a relationship, we've kind of missed the point. And so I think we kind of need both sides of that.
Good answer.
But these are things that I think are pressing for us in Prospect, but also beyond Prospect.
I love it. I'm going to throw a follow-up to you, and I'm going to get you thinking about this question. You're making connections with middle school students. I'm going to ask you how the connections with the middle school students are helping bridge a relationship with the parents of those middle school students. The question I have for you is with the Prospect neighborhood. It's a two-part question. The first part is, how did August 12th, what kind of influence did it have on the Prospect neighborhood? And the second part of that question is, from what I've seen and since 8/12, is one of the positives. And I'm a positive person. I'm a solutions-oriented person. I'm a glasses half full kind of person. I love to surround myself with folks like you guys who also embody those qualities. From what I've seen since August 12th, one of the positives that's manifested is the dialogue that's that's occurring, the dialogue that perhaps was not occurring pre-August 12th. Dialogue about affordable housing, dialogue about relationship equity, whether it's an African American, whether it's a white, whether it's someone that's Latino. I think oftentimes the Latino demographic gets forgotten in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. These conversations are happening now more so than ever, and perhaps that is a byproduct of August 12th. So I'm going to throw it to you for the two-part question. Your thoughts?
Yeah, see if I can parse that a little bit. So with the first question, my disclaimer is I'm always hesitant to speak for residents,
Sure.
right? But I can't say what I feel like I've seen.
You have first-hand perspective.
Yeah. So I feel like part of the effect of August 12th, and this isn't even just about Prospect, it's beyond that, but it's that I think it had a way of reinscribing distrust, right? I think it is a way that, someone could be in this community or be in the city and feel like, oh, this is a safe haven, right? Some things just won't ever happen here. And then when they happen, right, it can lead to that strife and that distrust of other groups. And I feel like that's the sad part about some of this, right? Like, how could this happen here? Like, what is here that has made it even possible for this to happen, right? Are there things that actually are a part of this culture that actually preceded August 12th and may outlast it, right? That we need to uproot. So I think there's a certain level of distrust that could be created as a result of that. But at the same time, I feel like, within Prospect, there's super resilient people, right? People who are hopeful about the future, people who want to see the community continue to improve and then see the city continue to improve. And so what I haven't seen is, utter dismay and utter pessimism. That's not what I've seen. What I've seen is resilience, and what I've seen is hope. And so,
love that.
To me, that's inspiring to me, because I'm like,
me too.
As a ministry, we want to help to foster that, but we don't have to create that out of nothing. Like, it's already there.
The foundation's there.
Yeah, and so it's a question of how do we kind of amplify those voices. At the same time, I think something else that I would say that this makes me think about is this whole question of positivity and how we like what it means for us to have helpful narratives about the Prospect community and about people in general. So like one thing that we did now a few months ago is we partnered with Lighthouse Studios downtown. And so basically our middle school girls group worked with them to create a video about the neighborhood.
Cool.
Right? So it's called Spreading Prospectivity. So we made up a little word, but
I like it.
Basically the idea was, what does it mean for residents to name what they love about their neighborhood, the things that really inspire them, the things that encourage them, and for that to be what we promote, right? So that people recognize, oh, this is an amazing neighborhood, right? It's a great neighborhood with great people, and let's actually allow the residents to set the agenda and to set the narrative for
to build the
their
brand.
own community. Exactly. As opposed to letting
as
other people
opposed
impose
to
that.
macro and the city in totality, building the brand for the neighborhood itself based on stigmas and stuff that they see in the news that may or not be a true reflection of the neighborhood.
Yeah, and this also relates to your former question about social media, right? Because that's the primary avenue where we're promoting it, right? And so it becomes this outlet for us to kind of recast vision for even not just how the community sees this neighborhood, but even how we see ourselves.
Love it.
I think all that is important.
Viral positivity. I love it. I love it. You are making connections with middle school students as the middle school tutoring coordinator. Part of those connections, I've got to think, and I don't want to assume, and that's why I'm asking you, is making connections with the parents, whether it's a single parent, whether it's a two-parent family, whatever it may be. How are you bridging the gap by making positive connections with middle school students and then using that relationship equity and that trust that you've built to build a connection with the parents themselves?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a huge connection between the students, the parents, and us, as well as the teachers in the schools. We try to make it a flowing process between us, students, tutors, teachers, and parents. And the biggest thing I think with the parents is, if you're a parent, the last thing you want to hear is your child is underperforming, you're not doing well as a parent, because that is not the message we're trying to give out. Because we know that all of our parents are loving parents. They love their kids. That's who you are as a parent. You're going to want to do that. So what we're trying to do is create a way to support and to walk alongside, kind of like I said at the beginning, these families and these parents. And by offering these programs, whether that's the tutoring programs, the mentoring programs, or the after-school programs, the girls group and the boys group for the middle school students, and just so these parents know that they're busy lives. A lot of them working multiple jobs, some are single parents, and that they need to know that we're here. We want to support them. We want to love them, and we want to love their kids as well. So it's just a way for them to know that they're not alone. If they have questions, because some of these it's the first time they've ever been a parent, and it's their first child, and they don't exactly know what to do, and they can ask us questions. We don't necessarily have the answers, but we can work together with them to make these answers and to create these answers and to help them along the lines. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to just have them. My biggest thing, whether it's students or parents, is just confidence in yourself. There's a difference between pride and confidence in yourself. And I think that a lot of our students do the same thing. I remember when I'm tutoring some of the students, they're guessing answers, and I'm like, hey, what's 5 times 4? He's like, 15. And I'm like, you just guessed that answer. He's like, I know. And then I'm like, think about it. And he's like, 20. And it's amazing for me to be like, you know the answer. You just have to believe in yourself. He doesn't think he knows the answer, so he guesses. When he thinks about it, he knows. And it's just growing that. And the same way with our parents is just having them understand and having them know that they are good parents. And if they need some support and they need to ask for some help, that's not a bad thing. And I want them to grow in their confidence as parents and how they can love their children best. And I think that the way that we work with their kids and support them can do that.
Love that answer so much. Confidence is such a beautiful asset when fostered, nurtured, and applied in a certain way. It can really take someone from one level to another level because they start believing in themselves. And self-belief is one of the critical components we need to have to be successful long term. I'm curious of this, and this is a tough question for you here.
We'll see.
How does the Prospect neighborhood, and you're not speaking for the neighborhood, you're leveraging firsthand experiences that you've seen firsthand. How does the Prospect neighborhood see itself in totality within the city? And the question I'm asking is maybe from a housing or gentrification or growth standpoint. I see the Prospect neighborhood as being positioned incredibly well as the next potential growth quarter in the city. We're close to Wegmans, we're close to 64, we're close to downtown, we're close to the university, we're close to the hospital, close to everything. And let's be straightforward. It's a 10.27 mile city. There is no inventory. And the inventory that is affordable is oftentimes being gobbled up and gentrified. A perfect example of this is when I moved outside of the UVA bubble in 2006. First, still lived in Oxford Hills on Preston Avenue. Then me and my buddies were like, we got to get out of the bubble. Okay, we moved to Belmont. Okay, and Belmont, when we moved in there in 2006, was still like the OG of Belmont was still there. Okay, like the original guard. Okay, and I watched firsthand as someone in his early 20s as Belmont became Yuppieville and became $500,000 homes because of its proximity to downtown. We lived there, to be honest. We lived there because we could stumble home from the bars. Okay, I got to be honest with you, okay? But OG Belmont, I saw them sell their homes, and now Belmont is $500,000 and above. Any concerns within the neighborhood about this happening to the neighborhood itself?
Oh, there's tons of concern. There's tons of concern, and it's interesting because you mentioned this whole idea that like, oh, this neighborhood is positioned for growth, and so the question is always, what kind of growth are we talking about, right? Is it affordable housing? Is it something else? And so that's definitely a concern that I've heard from folks in the neighborhood and beyond the neighborhood. And I don't think there's any easy answer to it, or else we would have figured it out by now.
Fair.
But I do feel like it's going to require a collaborative effort. Whether that's collaboration between the city, whether that's collaboration between developers, but also people in the neighborhood. And one thing that's been helpful, I think, is there are folks who've been a part of the Fifield Neighborhood Association who've been working on a small area development plan.
I'm trying to get Herb Porter on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, Herb.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Fifield Neighborhood Association.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great folks who've been really, pushing in this direction. So I know they've been partnering in the past some with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission to kind of create a plan that they can submit to the city, and some other groups that have been involved as well. And the primary concern there is to make sure that members of that neighborhood and the broader Fifield community are actually having their voices heard, right? To feel like, when we're talking about the Cherry Avenue corridor or places like that, like what does it mean for the residents, people who've called this place home for years, to have a say, to have a voice, so that we don't see people getting displaced, so that we don't see property values rising too high, right? So that we don't see some of the dynamics that we might see in other areas of not just Charlottesville, but the country, right? And so I think that's the first step, right? What does it mean to give residents real agency in this? But even, we have to think about like how it moves beyond just a voice to like it actually creating change, and that's something that we're still yet to kind of see. And so,
is the neighborhood fearful?
Yes, definitely. But I go back to my other point. I do feel like people are resilient and people are hopeful as well. And so the anxiety that's around it, I don't think that is a disempowered anxiety, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
And so that's, for us, we want to figure out how do we partner well with that. And so, one thing that inspires me is groups like Impact, which is an interfaith nonprofit in town that focus on social justice issues in the city. They've been thinking a lot about this and trying to think of creative ways to continue to hold our city and hold other officials accountable, right? To really listen well to the needs of others. And so they're actually holding their Impact Rally tonight.
Cool.
But they do kind of annual meetings and semi-annual meetings as well. So I feel like there are a bunch of different groups in the city who are thinking through this specific question of how do we engage in development as a city in a way that's equitable, in a way that's fair? So that's the stuff that gives us hope.
And what are the solutions?
What are the solutions? I've heard a range of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We talk about this often on the show. I think it's one of the topics that must stay in the news cycle and like the water cooler chatter on the tips of our tongues. Because if the dialogue is prevalent and continues to build momentum, then perhaps that will be some of the first steps to impacting change. Because, I am tremendously fearful as, for the Cherry Avenue corridor, for the Fifield neighborhood, for the Prospect neighborhood, that the University of Virginia, the machine, is going to gobble these up. The last thing I want is more parking decks. The last thing I want is the UVA machine to continue its sprawl throughout the city. I'm fearful, Nathan, that eventually the city is going to be the city of UVA.
Yeah. No, that's a very valid fear, and you're not alone, right? And I think in terms of answers, I feel like one of the things that I've been kind of learning is maybe part of this is, zoning, right? So like how we think about
going to R1 zoning
the
here.
predominance of single-family detached housing, right? Things like that. And so what does it mean to kind of shift away from that? Because as you mentioned, like the city's only so big, and so I've been connected with UVA for a while. So like there's so many workers who they work at UVA, but they can't live in the city because they can't afford it, right? And I think the UVA has taken some good steps.
Recently with the living wage.
Yeah. So props to President Jim Ryan and others who are taking some of those initial steps. But I feel like that's a huge issue. And so I think zoning is a big part of that. That's connected to just the question of how do we value the voices of the community as well, particularly those who've called this place home for a long time.
Right.
And what does it mean for that to carry just as much, if not more weight than someone who's just moving here for school, right? Like we value students. I've been a student for a long time. I'm a double who. So I get
nice.
that. Yeah, but at the same time, there are folks who called this city home for a long time. So how do we value that well and honor that well?
Love it. That was a good answer. Jump in here. I know you're newer to the city. You're newer to Charlottesville. Your firsthand perspective on some of the stuff that you're seeing with the students, with the parents that you're working with on any topic we've covered so far.
Yeah, it's just seeing UVA and seeing how big and how impactful it is. It's been really cool for me to realize I went to, before I went to Ohio State, I went to Miami University in Ohio, small college town. I feel like UVA has done a good job, just kind of as Nathan said, about, yes, UVA is so prevalent in Charlottesville community, but I don't feel like this is a college town. I feel like there's so much more to this city than UVA, and I really respect the way that they've done that, and I hope that it can stay that way, and it's not just this one bubble of the machine, as you kind of kept saying, that UVA has become. So from an outside perspective, I expected to come into a college town, into a UVA-dominated town, and I see how impactful they have been, but it's in a good way so far, providing jobs for families, but then still allowing this city to exist without them, which has been, it's been really fun for me to kind of be a part of a community like that is city and college coexisting together.
Good answer. And I, Thurston Benz is giving you props.
Thurston.
Yeah, is that your
best
boy?
man at my wedding. Yeah.
Okay, he's your best man?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic. Thurston, thank you for chiming in on the show, guys. If you have a question for the fellas, put it in whatever channel you're watching. 7 channels we're airing the show here on the I Love CVille network. If you could like and share the stream, the fellas are doing awesome work here and giving valuable perspective. All I ask is for a like and share of whatever stream that you're watching on Facebook here. I agree with Cooper that UVA is doing a good job. I am a solutions-oriented person who's always trying to push forward. I think UVA could do more. One of the things that I'm concerned about in affordable housing, and it's like a chicken and an egg situation. It's like affordable housing, how do we solve it? Public transportation, how is it negatively impacting affordable housing? Where I'm going with this is if public transportation was more accessible, approachable, and reliable, then affordable housing could be potentially more accessible, approachable, reliable, and more affordable. What I mean by that is right now, our most impoverished citizens are oftentimes being pushed into the outer counties where they can get a $750 2-bedroom house, as opposed to in the city of Charlottesville where a 2-bedroom house could be ramshackle at $1,250 monthly rent. Okay, they are spending an additional, or they're saving $500 a month in rent, but that $500 a month goes away because of the transportation to get from the outer counties to the epicenter of employment, which is the city of Charlottesville and oftentimes UVA. It goes away in fuel and wear and tear on the car. And lastly, our most precious commodity is our time. So how is someone to go vertically from a success standpoint with improving their lives from a career orientation standpoint when they're in a car driving 50 minutes to and from Louisa to Charlottesville for a job that's not paying them well? Where I'm going with this, you could go anywhere you want. I just want to get it out there because this stuff I'm passionate about. Is I feel like UVA is the largest employer in town with the deepest pockets in town, billions of dollars, billions with a B. This is the stakeholder that has to have more skin in the game to improving our public transportation system in our community. And if the public transportation system is more robust, accessible, and approachable and reliable, I think the affordable housing conundrum could be solved much faster.
Whoa, that's a lot. What you said kind of makes me think about the fact that like all these things are connected, right? That we can't actually talk about any one of these issues in an isolated fashion because, like affordable housing is going to be connected to that question of equitable transportation. And I mean, to me, it means kind of like that more people need to be at the table then, right? That like it can't be a siloed conversation. And I don't know what the answer to all that is, but I think being able to kind of remember that those things are connected is vital for us. And with UVA, I mean, one thing that's been helpful even recently, they have a working group that Jim Ryan started that's been, included folks from around the city, from various nonprofits and organizations to help to think through that broader question of what role can UVA play specifically in a lot of these areas. But I think the transportation thing is a key piece that like I actually haven't heard that a lot, right? That people haven't necessarily made that connection, at least in the conversations I've been in, but I think it's an important one to be made. And so, I mean, my hope with UVA in general is always that, as they get some momentum to kind of address some of these issues, that it's not this kind of seasonal thing. I think that's what can be kind of hard, that like, we can mobilize people around a specific issue because, it's the hot topic today, but like, what does it mean for us to not just do that, but to put in structures that are going to outlast, when this is hot, right? Because to me, that's really the answer. We want something that's sustainable, not just kind of a one-time or one-year initiative.
That's long term. Sarah Hill Buczynski gets a great. Sarah Hill, you're making us better today. She says Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries was the winner of last year's CVille Gives grant that aimed to address in a small way the affordable housing issue. CVille Gives, giving you some props here.
Oh, CVille Gives is amazing. It's funny. That was the first week that I began my role as executive director.
Get out of town.
Awarded. I said, "Oh, this is great. I didn't do anything. Right, I just started."
And you got money coming.
But it was a good beginning. But yeah, so that's basically helping with our matching funds for folks who are coming through our personal finance class, to basically help them to purchase their first home. And so what we love about that program and other programs is that they're typically incentive-based, right? So we're not interested in doing handouts, as Cooper mentioned. Like people, there are certain saving goals that they have to meet, and then we honor that by, helping them along the way. Because at the end of the day, like we can't solve issues by just giving information. Like people need tangible help, and so I think we're trying to find that balance between like how do we actually provide tangible help, but also recognize the fact that people are not helpless, right? They have assets and resources. So really, the opportunity for us is to partner well with them, and CVille Gives has played a huge role in that for us.
I love it. Help me out with this name right here.
Oh, Tommy, Ola Thomason.
Yeah, she's giving you props here.
She's awesome. She's actually the maid of honor at our wedding.
Get out of town. Yeah. I love this. I love
She's
social
great.
media. I'm going to throw this to you here so you can get to thinking. Talk to me about an anecdotal success story that you've had as the middle school tutor coordinator at Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries. A success story that you've had. You can go anywhere you want to go. I'm going to give you a second here to think about this. Like and share the feed, guys. 4 people, a lot of effort. 4 people on our team goes into putting this show in Monday through Friday from 12:30 to about 1:30 or so. All I ask is that you like and share the stream. Come on, guys. Success story that you've had. Anecdotal.
Yeah, I got a specific student in mind, actually. And I'm not going to use names, but he started out the year frustrated with the tutoring program, frustrated with his grades, frustrated with school. As most students are. I don't want to go to school today. He would come, I have to spend another hour in school. Like, you got to be kidding me. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I have to spend another hour in school. Would kind of be standoffish to his tutor and didn't really get his work done. Always complained, I don't have any homework. Well, why don't we work on reading? As Nathan kind of talks about, our reading levels can be very low for a lot of our students. So if they don't have actual homework to work on, we try to have them read with their tutor and to build on those just build on their skills in reading. And yeah, at the beginning of the year, he was tough. Tough student, had to call mom a few times, just trying to figure out the best way to love him and help him in school. And as the year progressed, I think I can't even be involved in this. It was his tutor. And that's why our volunteers are so amazing, where his tutor stuck with him through weeks of just sitting there and not wanting to participate and not wanting to talk, and his tutor was supportive along the way. And now he gets into tutoring. He comes up to his tutor, smiles, laughs, plays, gets his homework done, has showed me his grades from quarter 1 through now, and it went from consistent C's and D's to consistent A, B's, and C's. Not a single D on that report card. And I don't think that we really had much to do with it. I think that it had a lot to do with him gaining confidence in himself. Like I've been saying, he realized that he can get his homework done, he can do his study, and he can learn more. And seeing that success in that one student kind of made me reach out and look closer into others. And I've seen a lot of similar successes with all of these students in that way, where they have changed their kind of thinking of what this tutoring program is, and they're realizing that it's people there to help them and to care for them, not in this way of, hey, we're going to force you to do work, but hey, we're trying to make you better and we're trying to help you along the way. And it was really cool to see this one specific student though go from this troublemaking student without great grades and knowing that he wasn't a bad kid and that he had it in him, and to kind of see him go a complete 180 and just be someone who, when I walk in every single day to tutoring, he puts a smile on my face because he comes up and he is just fun, joyful, and a hard worker.
How does that motivate you to keep working hard?
It shows that through failures, you can find ways of success. I know a lot of times when I struggle, he was struggling in school, so he didn't want to keep working on it.
Right.
When you fail, it's really easy to be like, all right,
to give up.
Yeah, I'm done. I can't do this. And I think that sometimes it takes, for me specifically, I'm going to fail certain things. I need to look for support. I need to not be prideful enough, because I struggle with pride. And a lot of times, I'm going to fail at something and I'm going to try to beat it myself or I'm going to give up on it, where if I swallow that pride, I ask for support from a friend, a community member, a mentor to help walk me through my failures, then I can change my attitude about it and I can change those failures and turn them into successes and learn from them, which is, I think, exactly what this student did. Is he learned that this support was there to help him, and it's kind of taught me that through failures, I need to find support and I can really I can flourish in other aspects because of it.
I got a lot of props coming on the feed. Freddie Jackson, who we've interviewed on the show from the Love No Ego Foundation, is giving you guys props. He says you guys sound absolutely fantastic. One more time, the bridesmaid at your wedding?
Oliver Tomlinson.
Okay.
Tommy for short.
Tony. Okay. She says, I appreciate this conversation, guys. It's hard to be honest sometimes, but increasing awareness is how we all move forward. P.S. Thanks for the shout out, Nathan. Julian Manyong. Okay. Yeah. She says, Nathan, future mayor. Future mayor of City of Charlottesville. What do you think about that? No politics in your future? You thought about it. I know you have.
Someone literally asked me that earlier this week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never thought about it. There are people who are much better than I am.
Oh, come on
I'm happy
now.
to support them.
You no inspiration at all to do that? You would be so good at it.
I've thought about it. We'll see.
Do you not feel, so we're onto something right here. I could tell this man's body language. Okay, I got to throw this to you here. I feel that the city needs more folks of color, more folks from the Latin community involved in leadership positions. And here's a perfect example. Okay, a perfect example of this is the Charlottesville City Council race. There are 3 seats that are open. 3, okay? Everybody that is running for Charlottesville City Council right now is white. Okay, it's concerning, and we don't know what Dr. Bellamy's going to do. Dr. Bellamy could choose to run again. He has a couple weeks now. He's an incumbent. He's down to pretty close to the wire here, whether or not he's going to announce whether he's going to run again or not. Mike Signer, I think we all know, is not going to run again. Kathy Galvin's going to run for the 57th Congressional District. She's going to try to be a House of Delegate. She's going to pursue Sally Hudson, who's upstairs running from us now. I feel like you undoubtedly can make the community better.
Well, let's say this. One of my hopes is always to learn how to be very present to what's in front of me.
Okay.
And so there's a lot going on in my life with a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old and 2 jobs. And so I'm like, I want to make sure I'm investing well with where I'm at. And if down the road that opportunity opens up and seems feasible, who knows? But I want to make sure that I don't always look too far ahead, right? Right. Because I don't want to deprive myself of really being able to be
saying
available.
You want to smell the roses? Is that what you're saying?
I do like roses, but yeah, I want to be present.
How has fatherhood changed you?
Ooh, fatherhood. How has it changed me? It's done that. So when I
it's changed me.
So what happened for me was I was writing my dissertation, and then a baby was born. And
first.
Yeah, my first child back in January 2017.
Okay.
And I realized very quickly that life has very different seasons, and so I went 8 months without writing at all because I was with my baby.
You were in the thick.
Yeah, I was in the thick of it, and so then she shifted into daycare, and then I had a little time to actually finish my program. But what it taught me was the importance of being present. It also taught me my own limitations because I realized it's really hard to read intense, complicated theology and then write a paragraph for your dissertation and then change a diaper and then go back to it because my mind just doesn't switch back and forth that easily. And so I had to learn how to be present to that season of life, which was to be, really a stay-at-home dad functionally, and then shifted back and finished the program. So it's taught me to not try to do everything at once, but to be present to what was in front of me.
I love it. It's taught me to be less quick-tempered, more patient, more robust with my perspective, considering different sides of the coin. Yeah. It's taught me more tolerance, more willingness to listen. Mm-hmm. I'm an alpha, outspoken alpha at that, and I think fatherhood has reeled that alpha tendency in a little bit, and has said, look, you got this little guy here that you got to consider as well. It's also taught me to celebrate my better half. Yeah. I said this to my buddies. We have a fellas chat, and you guys probably have fellas. We have a fellas chat, and we text each other back and forth. And a lot of guys on the fellas chats, they're single or they have girlfriends. Nope, I'm the only one that's married. Certainly the only one that's a father. And I said on the fellas chat, and I'm talking about my wife here, is the sun, and we're the planets that are going around her. Without her, the gravitational system, whatever it's called, would not be balanced. So that's what I've learned through fatherhood. It's giving me perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I think one thing it actually reminds me of is how much it's taught me about appreciating just life, right? And the things that we take for granted. So I remember it was during the first month of being a father. I remember taking my daughter outside, I was holding her, and she was just staring at the sky, right? Just staring at the sky. And I kept thinking, like, what is she doing? It's just the blue sky. And then I realized she's never really done this, right? And so to me, it kind of forced me to think about that question of, like, what does it mean to actually appreciate life and the simple things in life? Because that's the stuff that's always in front of us, but we take for granted so frequently. And so I think that's the one thing I would say is really, this one thing has helped me to kind of reshape how I even engage the world. That, like, some of the most beautiful things are actually the simplest things, and we'll miss something if we don't pay attention and stop. Right?
How do you apply that to being the executive director of Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries?
So a couple of different ways. So I think it can be very easy to be focused on like metrics and outcomes, right? Especially when you're grant dependent, or like you want to make sure this percentage of students is improving this amount over a given year, and all that stuff's super important. But I think if we are so concerned with those quantitative things, we miss the qualitative opportunities to, like, celebrate the fact that this student, feels like someone actually cares about them now, right? Or this other student, the relationship between them and their parent is improving. Or this parent feels supported by the staff, with Abundant Life, or staff with schools. Like those kind of moments, I think, are the ways that I've been kind of pushed to be present and to celebrate.
Love that.
And so yeah, that's a lot of it.
That was awesome. So guys, we're going to close with each of you guys having a final word. You guys can go in any direction you want. Before we get to that, I want to get my buddy Harris Tolber, our director, into the mix. We often close the show with, Harris, what did you learn from today? Or, Harris, where do you want to go from an hour and change, 70 minutes of an interview here? He's our director and a key part of this program, so I'd like to give him some face time as we challenge him and have him blossom as well. So think about the final word coming up. Harris Tolber, what did you learn today from our interview with Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministry, sir?
Jerry, these guys are doing such amazing things in the community. I can't help but have a smile on my face, throughout this interview. It's truly inspiring. I mean, particularly, I've been working with, a family through Trinity as well, and working with middle school aged kids, and man, it's not easy sometimes, because a lot of and I totally loved what Sarah Hill Buczynski said and what Cooper was agreeing with, which is, like, no kid is bad by nature. A lot of times these middle school kids get neglected, but really they just need some guidance and to be put on the right path in that sense. Particularly, thinking back to when I was in middle school and my brother was in middle school, and some of the kids I work with, and specifically with, I think, boys in general, I mean, a lot of these kids have some attention issues, and I think that one of the problems is that, it's not biologically, it's not really in some boys' nature to, like, sit down and look at a computer screen or look at their homework for however many hours a day. And, in some ways, this is kind of a hot take, but I think the education system is a little bit outdated in that sense. I mean, the classroom setting was invented like 300 years ago. And, technologically and, we've had all these advancements, but we haven't really updated that. So that's just my kind of thought on it. But I think the answer is what Cooper's doing and what Nathan's doing is just, like, working with these families and these students to, to make adjustments and figure out how to get their homework done and see themselves in a better light and build that confidence that's so necessary. So.
Nicely done, Harris Tolber. I love that answer from our director. Dude, we've had a killer show with these fellas right here. I love it. Guys, check out Charlottesville Abundant Life Ministries online, charlottesvilleabundantlife.org. One more time, CharlottesvilleAbundantLife.org. Get involved with their March Madness fundraiser. I mean, I think it would be a very approachable way for you to be touched by this brand. We're going to be watching March Madness anyway, so why don't we do this in a way that can benefit this fantastic organization? And I think if you probably get touched by the brand, you may want to engage with them even further, which I think was the essence of the concept, which I got to give you big time props about. We will start, why don't we start with you? You got a final word. You watch PTI, I'm sure. This is kind of the concept here. Final word. You can go any direction you run, and we'll turn it into a sizzle reel as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, with the final word, I just want to make sure people know, as you kind of mentioned with the March Madness event, we're going to be there to talk. There's going to be people from Abundant Life at the March Madness event the entire time, and we'd love to share more success stories, more about what we do as a ministry and just who we are as people and individuals. We'd be happy to communicate. We love interacting with the entire community of Charlottesville, and that's kind of our goal of this event, is to bring in the entire community, not just the Prospect neighborhood, to see all that's going on in the Prospect neighborhood, and see how much fun we can have bringing people together of different demographics and backgrounds to all enjoy something as one. And that's what we're all about, and that's where we're going to have a lot of fun March 21st.
I love it. I love it. Show is yours, sir. Anywhere you want to go?
Awesome. Well, first, I just want to say thanks again to all of you for having us. But yeah, I mean, as I reflect on kind of Abundant Life Ministries and kind of what we hope for with our city and what we strive to do, a lot of that is reminding me of the power of relationships, right? It's easy to get so caught up in the programs we want to put on and the things we want to accomplish and do. When in reality, the big opportunity in front of us is to build relationships with people, to be able to foster relationships, to actually create the what King would call the beloved community that we hopefully all want. And so that's my hope for the city. Abundant Life is one small part of that. You know, Charlottesville has probably more nonprofits per capita than any other city in America, which means there's a lot of people out there doing great work. But it also reminds us is that what we're doing is deeply collaborative, right? We need one another. And so I just want to say thanks for all those who are part of Abundant Life Ministries, who help to support us. Thank you to all those who are doing other work in other areas of the city. But yeah, if you're interested in getting involved, check out our website. There are ways to get connected on a volunteer basis. There are ways to become a monthly supporter. Just ways to get invested in what we're doing. Because any investment in Abundant Life is really an investment in the lives of those in the city and specifically in the Prospect neighborhood. So thank you.
Love it. You guys crushed it. Nathan Walton, guys, and Cooper Good absolutely crushed it today. CharlottesvilleAbundantLife.org. Go to the website now. Follow them and like them on Facebook, please. They gave us their most precious commodity, their time, for 72 minutes today on the I Love CVille show. They undoubtedly made us better, and we are truly, truly, sincerely grateful. We closed the program the same way every single day, and we do it because it's important to us and our family and our team here. If you give more than you take, folks, you will make the community better. Please give more than you take, and I bet you in the long run you will end up winning anyway. The second thing is the golden rule. Live your life by the golden rule. I'm not even going to make it about religion. I just want you to treat others how you want to be treated yourself. The golden rule, guys. Open the door for somebody. Smile for somebody. Let someone go ahead of you in traffic. Just say yes, sir, no, sir. Be nice. Be nice. Charlottesville needs it. We really need it now. If we all embody these qualities, we will return this fantastic community to the community we all know it can be. Golden rule, okay? For Harris Tolber, for Judah Wickower, for Lauren Linsky, my name is Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille show on the I Love CVille network. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Great work.
Appreciate it.
Crushed it.
Thanks for your help, man.
Great work.
Was that fun?
Yeah, so fun.
That went by
You guys
fast.
did so, yeah, 70 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah. So guys, this is what you can expect from us. I kind of outlined it already. We're going to package it up here on I Love CVille. We already took the photo. We're going to cut the sizzle reels here. We'll send you a Google Drive link to you.